All right, and it says we're live, so I'm going to assume that we are live. And today's stream is on a long, hard tradition with the Trump era coming out as conservative. Now, I have a personal story with this, and it's because um, it's not necessarily coming out as conservative as much as it's coming out as based and red pilled. I have a boomer mother who is a so-called conservative. However, she has taken great exception to me being quote unquote radicalized. She doesn't think
Ooh,
that we need to, during the Biden era, start, getting more, getting more prepared, getting more vigilant.
militant.
Exactly. She's very much against this. She does not think that it's necessary. It depresses her to look at the news and to even think about what she might have to do in the future. So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm
Yeah,
dealing with
I
a
think that's most people.
well, and it's depressing because you just want to shake these people. You're like, the writing on the wall. Looking at it, like looking away from it isn't going to change the lettering thereon. Like it's the you knowing what's coming isn't going to change it from coming. So it's better for you to be prepared rather than shutting your eyes, plugging your ears, and saying la la la. So that's what I'm dealing with in my little home circle. But we have a more bona fide story from our friend Runner in Australia. Would you mind filling us in on your little coming out of the closet moment?
Ah, yes, I shall. This was during the inauguration of Biden, and yes, that was live in Australia. They were
I'm
actually
sorry.
showing it.
I,
Yeah,
I apologize for Americans importing that trash onto your television.
yeah. I was in a restaurant
Oh, oh.
at the time.
You know what? So was I. Like
Ooh,
the 20th is the birthday of my patriarch. So we were in the restaurant enjoying his birthday, and me and him are talking across at each other, and meanwhile my mother's stewing in our she's angry that we're discussing politics at my father's birthday dinner. I'm like, it's his birthday. We'll talk about whatever the fuck he wants to talk about, and it's on the goddamn television. So I feel you. I feel you. I really do. You still there, man?
yeah, I'm still here.
So
It's just, yeah,
so
yeah. I was
what
at
was your
the.
scenario?
It was my brother's birthday,
Okay. All right.
and they were talking when I already told you about this, but it's just viewers and stuff. It's just when. Alright, give me 5 minutes. Yeah,
Give you
it was
five
my brother's
minutes.
birthday. It was my brother's
Okay.
birthday. We were chatting about other stuff. Then it switched to Biden's inauguration. And my stepdad said, "Oh, when do you think Biden's going to get. When do you think Biden is going to get prosecuted?" And I said he wouldn't. He hasn't done anything.
Wait, but
And
Biden or
everyone called.
Trump? Because you said
No,
Biden.
Trump. Trump,
Ah, okay.
sorry. Yeah.
So he asked, when do you think Trump is going to get prosecuted?
No, he basically said the fam said to everyone, not just me, when you think Biden, when Trump's going to get. Sorry if mincing my words here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have an audience right now, like on the other side of your screen?
No, I have
Oh, okay.
nobody in the room with me.
All right. Sweet.
It's just been more actually trying to talk about this in public with everyone
Oh,
because I
all
already
right.
told you about this. It's more, yeah. All right.
Ah.
I get a bit stage fright sometimes.
Oh,
Alright,
dude,
yeah.
it's the internet. Don't worry. I'm a small channel. That this
Uh,
will be this is just for us friends, pretty much.
venting.
And you know it's important to put this stuff out there because you know
Yeah,
there's someone else going through the same shit.
yeah.
And I mean
Alright.
that's why um that's actually why I started doing this whole shtick. Is because I knew I could not be the only one seeing or going through uh, this complete shit show. So, whenever you're ready,
Alright.
man.
Alright. Uh, alright. So they were talking about Trump getting prosecuted. I said he wouldn't. Then my mother said, "What? Do you believe in Trump? Are you a Trump supporter?" I said, "Yeah." And they they got annoyed. My mother told me to leave the table, and I did. 2 minutes later, they said, "Mum said come back."
So, was this like on the? Did she tell you to come back like on your phone, or were you like on a bench, like a couple feet away?
Um, she was on the bench a couple of feet away.
Oh, so your family put you in timeout.
Yeah, for like 2 minutes,
Oh,
basically.
that
Yeah.
that is
For doing
shit.
wrong thing.
How dare you support the former American president? How oh my
How do you
gosh.
support the American dream?
Yeah, I know. I mean the best economy we've seen in years. How dare you support border walls? I mean, Australia is surrounded by an ocean. I, I'm
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have what is called a natural border. I don't know how well it's enforced, like via air or
Not
ship.
very.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Um, my God. But no, how dare you support the idea that nations should be sovereign? Essentially, is what this boils down to.
And it's more. And how dare you have a different opinion from everyone else?
So, what was their opinion like? Was that articulated? Was it actually discussed, or were you just kind of brushed to the side?
Brush to the side.
Oh, that's yeah. It, and that's the weird thing about being on the right is when you come out as conservative, they don't want to talk about your point of view. Like I
Yep.
remember like in almost every aspect of battle and discussion, the right's always willing to come to the mat. Um, but it's our opponents who aren't, and it's even harder when it's family because that there's almost like how do I put this? Like family's supposed to be like united in these things, and there's it's almost a shell shock when they're not. But even in
Yeah.
the right, like even in like right wing families, if there's a leftist in the right wing family, the the right wing family will have it out with their leftist black sheep. Like they will actually discuss it, or at least that's what I've experienced from my side. Um, in fact, a couple days later, after me and my mom had words about getting militant, getting prepared, getting shit taken care of, she actually came at me and was like, "Well, how can you say this, that, and the other, and um, say that we have to do this?" And she actually brought our faith and our religion into it, and she was not happy when I was able to hold my own on that side of the argument, and she was
Ooh.
the one who had to yeah, yeah, it got down and dirty, and she was not, because what happened is, and I'm sure this happened to you as well, is they try to put words in your mouth? Did that, what was that part of an angle that they tried to work on you as well?
Nah, they just call me stupid.
Well, that's not a wow. You see, and
And they also call me a flat earther.
a f- oh wow. Now, that's funny because according to flat earthers, Australia doesn't exist.
I know.
Like that's actually pretty funny because most of the flat earther arguments it completely eradicates the existence of Australia. Like to them, it's like Australia's one big massive global conspiracy.
Yep.
Oh, oh, that's funny. That's actually that's made my night.
Yeah.
If you support Trump, you're a flat earther. That is gold. That is
Uh,
that is absolute gold. I'm
and I also said, I didn't tell you this earlier. I also said that masks don't work. Well, the masks that everyone else used don't work. You got to use
okay.
special paint.
All right. And what was their response to this? I have to know.
They were very dismissive.
So they just waved you off as crazy, and so I take it they're not going to take the word of the World Health Organization that pretty much says the same thing. You know, these masks are shit. They don't work. Like this is the wrong type of mask for that.
Basically, they don't even listen to the World Health Organization. They listen to the government.
Okay, now what as an American, I find that to be quintessentially problematic. I don't think anyone anywhere on across the globe should be waiting on the word of the government for for truth and authenticity. I think that is the last place anyone should be um, looking for pointers on life and validity. Uh, Governments lie. I
Yep.
how yeah, how is that not common knowledge, and how has that been ignored by so many people that they would actually say, in effect, you're wrong because the government said so?
Because it won't happen here. That's their mindset. It won't happen here. Governments won't bru- governments won't turn on their people here.
Um, Governments won't turn on their people here. Um,
Yes.
you guys live in Australia. Uh, it, do they not understand the founding of their own country? Like, correct me if I'm mistaken, but didn't Australia start off as a penal colony?
Yes, it did.
So the British would dump prisoners onto a unknown landmass, and I am supposed to believe that the descendants of these criminals uh, really think the government did nothing wrong.
Won't do anything. Well, the Australian and British government are different now. The
Yes,
Australian government listen to don't listen to the Australian government doesn't listen to the British government anymore, but yes.
well, yes, and that's kind of
That's a
what I'm
very
alluding to.
it's a very common mindset around here.
And, and I'm shocked to hear that because as an American, we came well, we used to be British as well, and we told the British government, fuck off. We got it from here, and we've learned to not trust government ever since then. I'm wondering what the turning point was in Australia, where Australians uh, almost en masse said, "Oh yeah, the we were British too. We told them to fuck off, but we'll listen to this government. This government won't ever betray us." I
Because
okay.
the Australian government was founded on a European system. You guys made your own system.
Yeah, but doesn't that make it worse? I mean, maybe this is my American bias, but at least the Americans had the impetus of creating their own thing that might be slightly more trustworthy. But going back to a proto-European model is somehow uh, more ethical, more trustworthy than making your own new thing. Um,
Because Australia was still on the subject to the still is was still subject to the British government at the time.
ah,
So it's more it's less we didn't have a choice. And when and and after World War Two, when Britain was still was decolonizing, we actually had a chance to become more Americanized, but nobody wanted it.
really?
Yep.
That's that's very depressing. I'm very sad to hear this from my down under friends. That's very depressing. Um,
Yeah, and that's not the worst part. Australia is slowly becoming more tyrannical. It's just nobody wants to talk about it.
well, yeah, I was actually going to talk to you about since we brought up trust in government. Some of the COVID measures in Australia are kind of troubling. Or was it Australia or New Zealand who has the app where you have to like um, get the vaccine or get uh, marked and registered with the virus and whatnot? Is that Australia? Am I remembering that correctly?
Uh, I don't know. I think that's probably New Zealand.
Okay, then that was New Zealand. My apologies. I have mistaken you for your kissing cousins. Um,
Yeah.
so in what way is the Australian government becoming more tyrannical since we're on that subject?
Ah, because recently turns out that the turns out our troops have been shooting civilians in Afghanistan.
Oh, okay. Um, actually, I'm not sure how I feel about that because I'm pretty sure my country does that all the time with impunity. And so, if I heard that U.S. soldiers overseas were shooting civilians or um, alleged non-combatant units, I wouldn't blink. I and again, that's because as a civilian, I'm not only not only just as a civilian, but as someone who's not on the ground, who doesn't understand or see what actually happened. Because in Afghanistan, I think it's rather blurry who is a civilian and who is a militant.
No,
Like I'm
it was confirmed that they were civilians.
yes, okay, so and that for me is the rub. They were confirmed civilians in as in they were just how would you say um innocent bystanders. They were unintended casualties. Like I'm
Some of them were actually unintended casualties. It was just. How can I put this without making the Australian military look bad? Some of it was actually intentional.
some of it was intentional. Okay, well
Yep.
that's shitty. Um, okay, but so
Some
how is
of.
Australia on? How is Australia doing on free speech?
Wait, what free speech?
Yes, that no. The my question was, how is Australia doing in terms of free speech? Like
Yeah, what free speech? We don't have free speech laws over here. I honestly don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so you can get arrested for things you post online.
Not that bad.
It's not
It's not
that bad.
Britain's. It's not. It's not Britain's level of terrible.
Wow. I like how we're using Britain as the benchmark of terrible enforcement on free speech laws. That is
Yeah,
a
the
that's
country
a
what
neat.
had the country what used to have a gun culture got rid of it and
Ooh.
is now paying the price of it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. We have Australian. You're saying that you guys used to have a robust gun culture.
I
Um.
was talking about Britain.
Oh, you. Okay, so we're still on Britain.
Yeah.
So the fall of Britain is wow. Okay. So Britain's lost gun rights and free speech slowly over time. Well done, boys. Well
Yep.
done. And but again, I don't think from any I don't think I've heard from any Brit that they have an active gun culture.
This
Um,
was decades, like a century ago, apparently.
okay,
I
all
heard
right.
this from a friend of mine who's into guns and stuff, and they were talking
So
about
so this is like
that's
just outside of living memory.
yeah, just outside of living memory.
Okay, got it.
American dude I know. He was talking about how the Brits didn't have a big gun culture, but it was there. It was just mostly Webleys and small arms and a few shotguns and that.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing too insane. It was like around the 1920s and 30s.
Hmm. So, so this all happened during the inauguration. How have family relations been since then? Like, is there that tension in the room when they realize that their son is a Trump supporter?
Yeah, there's some tension there, but I've been mostly quiet.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's good to like share these stories because there I promise you, you are not the only one going through this right now. Um, ah. So where else is so where do you see this heading? Because I'm and well, hang on, let me backtrack. How did you like the inauguration performance? Like what is the Australian view of the Biden presidency?
Ah, most Australians don't know who Biden actually is.
Okay. Well, good on them. Oh my gosh. So since you did watch a portion of it, what did you think of the inaugural proceedings?
Uh, I thought it was, at least they got new radical. reunited to do their get what you give. That's the only good thing I've seen about it.
Wait, so say that again. The new radical.
Yeah, the band New Radical. You get what you give.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um. Okay.
I wasn't talking
Huh.
about a political thing, I was talking about music.
Yeah, you kind of switch it up on me there, just a little bit, just a little bit. Um.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't watch much of the inauguration either. Like I I think I came in at the part where J Lo was singing America, and then she launched into a long deal in Espanol, and I'm wondering why the fuck is this in the song? And that was about
Oh
where I
god.
yeah that was about the part where I came in
Democrats
out.
and speaking in fucking Spanish. I don't understand.
Well, to their credit, they actually got a Latina to fucking do it, so it didn't sound like complete shit. Um,
Oh god.
like
I know what you're
it was
talking about.
it was the authentic utterance to say the least. But no,
The
there was
authentic utterance is saying, yes, I'm coming to America. Yes, this passport's legal.
uh-huh. So and since you're over there in Australia, I got to ask, well, what has the effect been on Australians in terms of, because you and I have talked about this before about the importance of America as a symbol to places like Australia, to Britain, to other places in Europe, that America is this symbol of freedom. And have you noticed any changes in that view in Australia? Has it um, just from your own observations, of course?
Uh, most people here don't really only care about if they got a roof over their head now. They don't really
Yeah.
care about politics.
Well, I'm sort of relieved to hear that, because over here in America, like everything has been so politicized. Like the only reason that you're not clued into politics is if you are literally down in the dumps and fighting for your basic needs. But I'm also disturbed that there are so many Australians fighting for their basic needs. Um,
Or they just don't care.
well, I'll be perfectly honest. If there was one time I wanted the rest of the world to look away from my nation and not pay any attention, it now would certainly be the time.
Mm.
Because Joe Biden's presidency is going to be an absolute shit show.
Yeah, I
Um,
watched your stream about that.
and yeah, he's
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna repeat something he said during the election.
all right.
If you can't, if you don't respect the troops, if you don't respect the troops, you shouldn't lead.
So you saw how he respected the troops, then I assume.
Oh fuck yeah!
And that was amazing, because not only did he leave them like dogs in the bottom of a parking garage on the report that one of the National Guard who was defending their pathetic asses wasn't wearing a mask. I think that was the impetus of moving the soldiers from the Capitol building to this parking garage. Um, Not only did he show that great disrespect, but to my great pride, Donald Trump picked up his phone from Florida and said, "Hey, I want every troop in Trump DC, so give them rooms there. And it was disgusting. It was 5,000 servicemen in one parking garage basement with one toilet and one charging outlet. And you're sitting here
Yep.
thinking, what the fuck is wrong with you? That it takes Donald Trump to be a better president in absentia. He's no longer, he's a civilian, and he was still a better president to the troops than the current man sitting behind that desk. That is an absolute embarrassment, and we should never let him forget it. Like,
Yep.
I
And
mean,
people wonder why we were so fucking angry when the fucking election shit went down, because we knew something like this was gonna happen.
oh yeah. Apparently in Georgia, 93% of all military votes went to Biden. Now, I want you to sit on that for a moment, and I'm just going to tell you flat out: anyone who knows the military and how they vote knows that that is bullshit. Like the idea that 93% of the military in any state would overwhelmingly vote for a Democrat is a statistic impossibility. That is
Yep.
not how that's not how our military shakes out. I'm sorry. Um, they robbed our soldiers of their vote.
Well, well they did it. Well, they did it when Obama was doing his second term.
Yeah,
They robbed the vote then as well.
and that's why most Republicans look at mail-in ballots and go, well, if you're not going to honor the vote of our troops, why should we think you're going to honor any other vote? That's why that's why there's such distrust and fraud with mail-in ballots. But if you mention that again, you're a conspiracy theorist, equivalent to flat Earth, apparently.
Yep.
So, that's about where we're at, and it again, I'm I'm at the point right now. The watching the inauguration and the emptiness of those of that show, because I can't call it an actual inauguration because the American people weren't there. It was the press, it was politicians, it was the military standing guard, all 35,000 of them, and not a
That
single.
wasn't scary as shit.
Well, and here's the thing: not a single Trump supporter is going anywhere near the Capitol. Like, we all got the message: stay the fuck away from the inauguration. Do not engage. um, and also you see these photos. There was the gaff. Well, it wasn't even a gaff. It was just a random senior moment where Biden is walking up to a federal building. I think it was the White House, where instead of saluting the troops, he
Oh,
just
he
says
had the earpiece.
he had the earpiece in and he just said salute the troops, and you're sitting there going, oh no, oh no, that this is this is this is just sad. This is elder abuse at this point. That this is not something that any American should take seriously. But unfortunately, we have to pretend that the election was not fraudulent because reasons. Because our Supreme Court failed to uphold its job in adjudicating those cases. What else was
Yeah.
there?
Yes,
What else?
yes. Thank Judas for that.
Uh, so what else was there? There was the troops. There was the Biden. Oh, that's right. there are photos of Biden passing by the National Guard troops, and they all had their backs turned to him, like
Fuck.
they they wouldn't acknowledge him. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, so here's an administration who campaigned on uh, gun control. They've now empowered the Department of Homeland Security to crack down on the quote unquote far right, the white nationalist terrorists, whoever, whatever evil thing you want to call them. And I'm supposed to believe that these troops who have turned their back on their president, that these are going to be the people who are going to be coming down and knocking down my door. Um, Joe Biden has the Democrats have the presidency, they have the House, they have the Senate, and I
They
cannot
don't
think
have the
of
troops.
that. Not only do they not have the troops, they don't have the American people. Like, I do not see Joe Biden passing a single law that will be enforced. Like, I can completely see every single red state just giving Biden the bird. I do not see. He's almost like it's an anathema to politics to have a president who is literally this reviled so early in his presidency. To have someone who has all of Congress and the executive, and yet be essentially toothless to the populace. I have not seen this before. I've never seen or felt anything like it. And watching the inauguration, just because I'll be honest, up until the 20th, most commentators we shut up because we didn't know what to make of this bullshit. Like I stopped making content. I know a few of my friends like that they were too black pilled to like even think about what was going on. But when I watched the inauguration, when I watched all this shit unfolding, it is I just realized that he's powerless. We're looking at a president who is president in name only, and I've never seen that before. We actually have a comment. Quote, just following orders is powerful. It worked for Hitler, Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot. It works. Um, that is true. In fascist, communist, dictatorship countries. And the fact is, America's not a dictatorship, at least in principle. I know the Democrats are trying hard to make it one, uh, but he does not have the will of the soldiers to make that a reality. I do not see these National Guardsmen uh, following Biden's orders. I just don't see it. They have shown. Not only has Biden disgraced himself in their eyes, they have shown open disdain for him. And I'll be honest. Biden has nothing to do in his entire next 4 years other than fail and fail miserably. Um, he will be probably the most unpopular president in all of American history. I wish that was an exaggeration. Um, and it's because he's earned it. I don't know how else to describe it. He has earned the position that he's in. Uh, what are the numbers? I think it's like 60% of Republicans think that the election was fraudulent. Uh, Add 30% of the Democrats who think that this election was fraudulent, which essentially means that unless you are a close-minded ideologue, you've pretty much come to the conclusion that this election was fraudulent, and you can't run a country if no one believes that you're legitimate. And we now have a president who has all of Congress and the executive branches, but no confidence. And I don't know. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this because one, it gives me time to game plan with my fellow patriots what needs to happen and how it needs to go down and what our next steps are moving forward. But I'm also
Yep.
I'm yeah, that's really what we're in the planning stages. Give it a couple, give us a good 6 months, and I'm pretty sure the right is going to come roaring back. Because because barring a massive election fraud again, which is completely possible, but I don't think that Americans are going to buy that Democrats are getting elected because their figurehead, their ascent to power has been very much in question.
Yep. Well, they did it to themselves.
I'm thinking he will be out around March, then Kamala the Grinch Harris. Um, yeah, I don't think anyone likes Kamala either. I don't see the troops giving her any respect either. Um, Now please clarify your question of how, troll, because I'm all ears with the question that you're posing. I just don't know the specifics of that question. Um, Again, you also have on the heels of this the Texas Attorney General saying, "I'm glad that Biden's now sitting behind the sitting in the Oval Office. I will be protecting Texas from any of your bullshit." And it's fascinating because what else are you hearing? Are you hearing the left? Not just the left, but are you hearing any state governments cheering on the Biden regime? I haven't heard any of it. The only people who seem to be supporting it are the insiders. All right. Sky Troll says Biden bump is normal now. Tech gods are changing the rules. The feds are weaponized against conservatives. How do we outvote a crooked vote? Um, you demand that we go back to paper ballots. That's really going to be the right's next project is removing all of the counting machines and going down to hand counting. That's going to be the right's next push. Because it has to be. Without that next step, pretty much the republic is lost. And if the Democrats refuse to yield to the will of the people and the will of the states and the will of the cities and the individual counties who have to officiate those the vote as it's been, how do let me simplify this and really catch my breath on this. The federal government cannot just override the will of the independent states if the states say we're not using ballot counting machines anymore, and if you try to make us, that will start that'll kick off another battle. Now hang on, that vote will also be a crooked election we will lose. I disagree. I don't think that going to back to paper ballots will be as crooked because you will actually have a paper trail. Um, and you'll be able to tell, okay, this one, no creases, claimed to be a mail ballot. There are no creases on it. This is highly suspicious and irregular. We're going to file a lawsuit, get it sent off. Like with paper ballots, it's going to be far more easier to tell whether or not some funny business has been going on. So no, I disagree. I think paper ballots and going back to paper ballots is a completely possible for the right to accomplish. And B, I don't think that we'll have as many crooked elections from uh, paper ballots only if they're counted that way, because then you'll have there'll be a slightly more accountability when it comes to mail-ins. And that's another thing that we also have to consider. COVID is apparently on the decline, and because it's on the decline, what would be the excuse for letting mail-in ballots be so widely used? Their whole impetus, their whole justification for mail-in ballots was COVID. Um, getting the vote back after this should not be a problem. They can't. How do how do you justify not using paper ballots from this point? Is going to be my main contention. We will never see paper ballots in Georgia. I'm afraid that ship has sailed. Well, that's up to Georgia, and that's up to and this is what I mean by Biden being a completely lame duck president already. Um, when Biden was being inaugurated and after the 6th, the Georgia militias became active. Like the
Ooh.
civilian militias in Georgia became hot and active. So uh, who knows? Who knows what can happen? Because Georgia is still a red state. Like the raw numbers of Georgia are still overwhelmingly Republican.
I know a
Um,
lot of people. I know a few people in Georgia who are red,
yeah,
who are conservative, and they're fucking pissed.
yeah. So
They are fucking pissed.
yeah, the Georgians know they've been robbed, to say
They,
the least.
yeah. If a civil
So
war does get fucking kicked off, gets kicked off, I won't be surprised if fucking Georgians are the most fucking violent ones.
I'm waiting for base Georgia.
Oh god. Imagine Georgia doing
A
a
reverse what?
reverse Sherman, a reverse Sherman
Oh my
on
God.
all of America.
Mm.
Fuck me, that would
Don't
be
get my
funny.
hopes up. Don't get my hopes up. So, Skytroll, are you from Georgia? Are you actually from Georgia? Am I speaking to a Georgian? We'll wait for YouTube to clear that out since there's a 10-second delay apparently.
Yep.
Oh, these folks are angry, armed, and drunk. So, I am from and live in Georgia. So, okay. Find all of your find all of your angry statesmen, gather together, and demand paper ballots. You've got 4 years or so before the next general election. I have faith in you. I really do. I think that there is uh, enough will from the people to get this shit done. There's absolutely no reason for you to be lazy and sit on your ass and say all hope is lost. I am absolutely convinced that petitions from the people will still prevail this time. There's simply there's enough uh, discontent with your elections in particular that Georgians should and can and absolutely should demand paper ballots in their state and paper ballots only. That is not outside the realm of possibility. Um, so, did you have anything else for me, Runner?
Um, nothing
What
much
is?
besides. Nothing much besides. This will be interesting
Yeah, as
if
I
we
said,
do have a civil war, or if you guys
um,
have a civil war.
Yeah, the whole civil that's another thing that's kind of that got me laughing about the inauguration is I think Biden's complete ineptitude and weakness. Like if Biden was actually capable of gathering stormtroops and marching through Americans' homes and enacting his will as the president, I would actually see a civil war brewing up. But because he completely lacks that will, I think the American people they're not placated, but they're certainly plotting and thinking smarter in that regard. So let's go back to Skytroll. Um, do you know how Dominion was used in Georgia? Um, I have an idea. I know that there were stacks of ballots being hidden under the tables and counters. Um, but since you're in chat, go ahead and inform me more of what that was like from the actual Georgian's mouth. And it won't be a civil war. This will become something of a world war. You know what? You might be somewhat correct. Um, I could definitely see that if the Biden administration was questioned and fought against in a military fashion, that we would see EU blue helmets and Chinese troopers in America to enforce the peace. And for most Americans, that's called a good time. Um, I don't know what else to say to that other than if if Americans questioning and rejecting the Biden presidency causes a world war and the entire world got up in arms to decide the fate of America in terms of who is in our seats of power, that would be an interesting world war because it would essentially mean the entire powers of the world trying to dictate the American fate, which they're already doing by other subversive means. But to make it a hot war over the American election system and the will of the American people, that would be extremely interesting. And it it becomes a whole other game when you bring in foreign troops and foreign influences to take care of the rowdy Americans. That would be a that would be quite the shit show. And you know what? I'll just say if that is the case, that I'm still betting on America, guys. I like if the rest of the world tried to dictate what happened to America and how we governed ourselves, and they tried to go to war against America in a hot war against the results of what we think should be our electoral process. Um, I don't care how many people you ship over. I don't care how many blue helmets hit from sea to shining sea. I don't care how many CCP aircraft we see. Um, I'm betting on the Americans winning. All right.
Me too.
We have I think this will be the last comment I take. Nah, the supposed vote to use Dominion was something of a surprise for us voters. They just showed up last election cycle. I never heard a debate. I'm not saying it's us versus the world. It's not our election. It's the lockdowns. Well, that's actually true. And as I said before, um, the impetus for the lockdowns and the need for mail-in ballots are diminishing under Biden, which I was shocked by. Um, let's go back to the Dominion systems. They just showed up last election cycle. I never heard a debate. Well, now is the time for you to bring that debate to your elected officials and start writing petitions and saying, fuck this bullshit. Like, this is literally the time for you as Georgians and those who think and feel like you to actually address the government and say, we don't like these Dominion machines, get them the fuck out. And that hopefully could be the start to every other state, including, Texas, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and the rest of them, in spite of their elected officials, and completely in spite of their elected officials, saying, we the people do not want these voting systems in our elections ever the fuck again. Uh, and that's what we should be game planning. Number one. So this actually turned out to be an interesting stream.
Yep.
So thank you for coming on, Runner. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Guy Troll, thank you for coming in and giving us your commentary. It's
Thank you,
gonna be it's gonna be an interesting 4 years because, as I said before, um, maybe the cycle before, but we weren't required to use them, and most counties don't. But Atlanta does. Yeah. So what you have to do is you have to ban them statewide. And I am supremely confident that you can get the signatures for petitions to ban those, to make those ballot measures on the ballot, and to make sure that that you get that passed. And if you don't get it the first time, file again, file again, and file again.
File again until somebody says, okay, we fucked up. Let's not
Well,
have
no,
a
no, no.
civil war happen.
Well, no, that's not gonna. They're never going to admit that they fucked up. What you got to do is you have to back them in the corner of. You have to basically spam them saying, "We the people are not taking this shit, and you're gonna take it back, or else." And that's essentially where we're at. So have a good night, Sky Troll. And my screen is fuzzy. Okay, I'll just have to take that because I'm on Wi-Fi. I don't know why it's fuzzy. But anyways, everyone, God bless. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night. See you guys later.